This episode discusses domestic violence and sexual abuse. Please take care while listening and feel free to pause or skip this episode if you need to.
Welcome back to Real Funny, Real Cute, the podcast where we break down what is serious through humor and chisme. In the last episode, we spoke about patterns, cycles, and silence. This pattern of being silenced by individuals, by institutions. And that is where we are going to start today because it's kind of hard to sit here and focus on talking about generational trauma and that kind of silence when there are certain individuals that, oh boy. Well, let's just go ahead and get started. Welcome to episode 2, NateB212. Now, for those of you who have not listened to the first episode, make sure to go back and check it out so you don't think we're just bullying some poor guy. But this individual, this NateB212, has managed to carry this into 2026. We have not dated since the end of 2024. I just wish that he would just let it go, let it die. I already buried him. I have the tombstone and everything. Like, Buki, to me, you are dead. You have been long dead. I wish you would do the same. But unfortunately, that is not the case because at the beginning of this year, when I was in Atlanta celebrating the new year, welcoming in this year, I kind of slipped up because, as I mentioned, this is not my first rodeo. So I already knew that with certain people, it's best not to share live stories. But I kind of let my guard slip. I told myself, you know what? I haven't heard from this Nate B. Maybe he actually just dropped it and just is going to leave me alone. And so I got too comfortable and I posted a story and I tagged my friend. And then I hear from my friend, oh, Nate B added me, send me a friend request. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, what a coinkydink. Here I am posting a story tagging my friend. And then he sends her a friend request, even though they have no mutual friends. And I already knew what this was. It's a method of being able to try and keep control and trying to let me know, oh, yeah, you think you're safe. You think that you've moved on. You think this is over. I am going to find the smallest way to creep into your happiness so that you know that am aware of where you are, of what you're doing, of who you're hanging out with. It's a manipulation tactic. But for me, knowing what I know about him, it's a whole another layer of concerns. And so instead of just continuing looking over my shoulder and being on the run and being in the state of fight or flight, I decided I needed to do something about it. It just makes me so angry knowing that I have gone through these things and that I have done my best to not become this hateful, resentful person that's just bitter towards the world. Instead, even though my ex did get in my head and I believed him when he said that if I tried and make a police report against him, that they would not believe me. And this is my first partner, not Nate B212. So even though I did believe him that my word would not be good enough, I decided to drop out of accounting. I joined human services. And as I was completing human services and I was pretty close to being done, he gets arrested. I see him on TV. And then I just start thinking, wow, he did the same thing to somebody else that he did to me when I was a minor. And I start to feel a bit guilty because I'm like, I wish I would have came forward and said something. And that's when I really realized that human services is not for me. I don't want to be in an office setting just dealing with people that come in with this trauma. I would rather be out there trying to do something to prevent people from having to go out and find a therapist in the first place. And so since every time that I would go to human services to my classes, I would have to pass where the criminal justice courses were at, I kind of started getting this idea. And so this is why it makes me so angry when Nate B does this at the beginning of the year, knowing that Nate B gets me fired, that I see him already setting his eye on this brown officer. And I decided to come forward because I'm like, okay, this dude is trying to follow his movements throughout the detention center. I decided to say something, and then he flips the script and says that I am harassing him. The reason I even decided to go this route, that I decided to drop out of human services, is because of this person that actually told me he would do exactly that. That if I try and do the right thing, that he was going to flip the script. And I'm like, well, damn, I guess he was right. So when my friend tells me that Nate B sent her a request, I was like, you know what? No, no más, enough. Ya, basta. The stupideces. Honestly, that's all I could think about was that girl from that TikTok video. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to move back to Atlanta where I'm originally from. I'm ready to go back. And also, I'm ready to continue with that plan I made when I decided to drop out of human services. I'm not going to let no Nate B, Greenville County, the Greenville County Detention Center get in the way of that. it's time for me to tell my side of the story, which is why I'm here re-recording this episode because when I first recorded episode 2, y'all, I mean, I was in that fight or flight, and you can tell because I had just had surgery, double jaw surgery, and I was still there trying to record, and I was re-recording and re-recording and re-recording, and instead of resting because I was like, I got to do something about this because I know it's going to happen again and again. And I was in this fight or flight mode, but I couldn't get the episode out. Well, one, because I was swollen. And then two, I also let my ex, both of them, I let my exes get back in my head. The first one with, no one's going to believe you. And the second one with the same thing, telling me that, oh, who's going to watch? Your sister, your two followers. And so every time I would record, all I can hear was, I'm white, you're not. Who's gonna believe you? You don't think I can flip the story on you? Oh, your 2 followers. Oh, your sisters. And I'm like, "You know what, fool? I don't care if the only ones who do watch are my aunts in Mexico. At least I'm gonna get it out, okay? I am ready to, clap them cheeks one last time, boy, because entre ser y no ser, yo soy. Now, the way that I initially did this episode was that I started going over the document that I submitted over to the investigating officer once I found out that Nate B decided to make a false police report against me. I find this out in March of 2025. Well, I got to work because I was like, there is no way that he is saying that I'm harassing him because you see, he did this report in February of 2025, February 3rd. And as much of a romantic gesture as it might have been, because the Valentine before, he had written me this letter saying that he hoped that we could spend a lot more time together. So I was like, I'm sorry, boo, but you don't have to keep that promise anymore. I appreciate the gesture, but I don't want to have to be seeing you every day. And I pretty much told him that in December when he reaches out to me after getting me fired, and he was expecting me to be like, "Oh, my sweet pistachio, you reached out to me. No, I didn't even like you for the later half of our relationship. Why would you think that I want to talk to you after you got me fired?" And when I told him, like, leave me alone, don't contact me. The only time we should be having a conversation is in the courtroom when it comes to dealing with the money that you owe me. And then when I asked you to pay me back, you said, "Oh, I don't owe you anything. You're doing this to harass me. I'm going to go tell the detention center that you're harassing me." And they're not just going to move you to a different shift. They're going to get you fired. He indeed did get me fired. And so at this point, I'm like, okay, we don't need to be talking unless it's inside of a courtroom and it's about the money, the several $1,000s that you owe me. And so he did not like this response. This was not the first time where I've told him to leave me alone and he did not like that. So then he proceeds to lie about having oral pharyngeal cancer. So I say, okay, oral mouth. I was like, okay, the pharynx, yes, yes. That's a big word, and I'm not trying to do this to be petty, but he's not the brightest crayon in the box. We're all intelligent in different ways, but vocabulary was not one of his fortes. So I hear oral pharyngeal and I'm like, oh, it must be real. For a bit, I did believe him, but quickly this lie starts to fall apart. And then I realize he's lying to me about having oral pharyngeal cancer just so he can keep, I don't even know, talking to me. And it turns out that the brown officer that I told you about that he was already targeting, well, he moved to Florida. So then I was back on his radar and oh boy. And when I find out that he's lying, I mean, now I tried and said, okay, you need to get some help. Nope. I don't need help. I'm not lying. Okay, boo. Okay. That is why I was so confused as into how is he filing a police report against me in February? He's the one texting my family. I'm not the one contacting him. I literally have a message from him saying, "Don't contact me." The very next one, "You're fucking crazy, Roman." Like, who are you fighting? I don't even know what's going on. And when I finally asked him about it in the midst of playing along that he has cancer so I can document all the other shit that he's lying about, he says, "Oh yeah, no. I'm sorry. That was just me. That was my voice, but I didn't really recognize it." And I'm like, okay, so you're delusional. All I was doing on that recording was singing along to Tate McRae X's. This is why I was very concerned when I find out there's a police investigation into me. So I get to working on this document and then I am reaching out until I'm able to contact the investigating officer, and I sent him this document saying the dates that Nate is saying that I harassed him. That is absurd. And here is why. He is trying to intimidate me because I am suing him in civil court. And initially, that is what I was doing in the episode, was going over that document. I figured this would be a good way to start establishing some kind of like rapport and establishing some kind of credibility with y'all, the listeners. And so I figured I would kind of keep it that way, going over that document that I sent over to the investigating officer once I realized that this crazy boy decided that, oh, I'm just going to make up a bunch of oh boy. Now, the dates on the first report that I was allegedly harassing Mr. Nathaniel Bazell was from August 1st, 2024 through February 3rd of 2025. Now, the first date that I start off with is August 1st, and I say we have a disagreement over him continuing the hiring process at the detention center, but the text conversation ends with him bringing food. Because according to the South Carolina definition of what harassment means, and let's look it up, SC definition of harassment. It says a pattern of intentional, substantial, and unreasonable intrusion into a person's private life that serves no legitimate purpose. It causes and would cause a reasonable person to suffer mental or emotional distress, often involving unwanted contact or surveillance. And so that's why I start off with August 1st. I say, where is the do not contact me? Leave me alone. Nothing. We did have a disagreement that day over him pursuing a job at the detention center. And now the thing is, I started looking at this job back in May, back in June. We had just came back from Puerto Vallarta, where I found out he had been cheating on me the entire relationship. And so when I get back, I don't even know if I want to apply to the one in Greenville County. Maybe I should apply to the work at the detention center in Asheville or the one in Hendersonville. So I have my Excel sheet out and I have how much I would make at each location, the driving distance, all those factors, because I can't just quite relocate yet, but I am willing to do the drive so that I can be a step closer to moving out and leaving this fool behind. At that point, I realized I need to start preparing to leave because I kind of had this feeling that there was something a lot more cynical going on, and I was right, but we'll see more about that later. Now, Nate B sees that I'm preparing to apply and he gets this idea. Oh, I should apply too. And now, come August 1st, after months of deliberating and me telling him no, no. And also, I had not applied because I was helping my parents with their audit at the IRS, and that was a full-time job itself. So I didn't have time to start a second job. So that's why I was holding off on applying. And now, in the meantime, Nate B beats me to it. He applies, and that's what the disagreement is on August 1st, because he says, I went to Kairos to get something signed, this document that in itself made no sense because I'm like, okay, you went to get this signed by your manager, but this is not who you actually report to. You were a shift supervisor. You report to a manager, not the district manager or whatever he was. Also, the ink bleeds on the dates as if, oh, it was unsure. Also, you were a shift supervisor. But anyways, that's honestly more for when we talk about the detention center because they're the ones that took these forms. But the point is, he is at Kairos getting that form signed. And then I said, even though we established last night that you don't have the qualities needed for that job. And then he says, we'll talk about it when you get back. I literally have no choice. I literally have over $1,000 of things I need to pay for soon. Plus, they said I can ask the other officers many questions. I can't before even. You said it's over officially and want me out ASAP and no more helping. I need a job ASAP. Plus, I'm going to ask many questions before. If I get the job, I can pay the credit cards and help with your payments. By the way, one of our baby kittens died. I was left to pay for the surgeries because the other two girls and the mom, they all three need to be fixed. And I had lent him money to move out for his rent, for his car insurance, and he was supposed to pay me back with those first paychecks. I have still not received a single dollar. But anyways, that is what happened August 1st. We have a disagreement, but clearly he shows that he knows what we're talking about. He didn't say, no, that's not true. We never agreed on that. We never said that. We had come to an agreement like, hey, all these things that you struggle with, yeah, you probably shouldn't be a detention officer. If you can't tell the truth, if you can't control your anger, if you don't know why you do the things that you do, that's a bad idea, boo. Especially with your trauma. That's what he calls this fetish desire to see brown and black men Hispanic men as inmates, thugs, all that. He calls it his personal content from trauma. Because I found out about this like June or July, and it was because I was looking at his history because, again, he had cheated in May. He wasn't telling me the truth. I found a message of him saying how good it was, the apartment number, sorry, the duplex number, saying, oh, I wish I didn't get that call from my dad. It was not his dad, by the way. It was me calling him. He answers the call, y'all. He actually answers the call. Well, he runs out. He doesn't manage to answer, but calls me right back. And on the phone, we are talking on the phone as he is still getting into his car. He is pretending to be doing an Uber Eats order and just leaving this dude's house while with me on the phone. He's still texting the dude, "Sorry, my dad called. Oh, that was really good," and stuff like that. So this is the kind of man that we're talking about here. This is the podcast where we break down what's serious through humor and chisme. And right now, I'm giving y'all the chisme. Okay, I'm giving y'all the gossip, but again, it's chisme with a purpose. Now, moving on to August 9th, this is when he tries to start sex. And I'm going to just read through this real quick because he said, you've been making me in the mood since yesterday. In fact, since the afternoon on the 6th. I just reminded myself that I don't deserve any of this for all the shit I've done. I'm sorry for this morning and all from when we met. I need to reflect even more on that and give you your space. I still can't. Okay. And this is for the chismosos. From what I've heard, he's trying to be a top now. And all I can say is that when he was saying here, you've been making me in the mood since yesterday, he was trying to throw, well, how do I say this without making my podcast seem like I'm just pelado, like I'm just dirty talk. You know what? Honestly, if the president can say stuff like that, then I feel like I should be able to say something without feeling like it reduces the value. It's not like I'm going to say you just grab by the, but I mean, that is pretty much what he was trying to ask me to do, to just from the dear end, which is why I think it's crazy that he's saying he's a top. Because I'm like, boo, you, why are you trying to throw that cake up on me? Why? But anyways, moving on. August 18th, the next date, he apologizes for hitting me. Now, the thing is, and I'm about to give you all the cheese, man. I'm about to try to give it to y'all fast so we can wrap up this episode. But August 18th is when he was supposed to take me to my surprise birthday picnic. Now, I was causing us to run late. He had run me ragged. He had run me down by this point. I was worn out. My vitamin D level was like a 12. I was struggling. I mean, and how is my vitamin D level supposed to go up when I couldn't even wear my Hoochie Daddy shorts that I wear for medical reasons because my body doesn't absorb vitamin D that well. So I have to show as much skin as I can when I'm out to try and absorb as much as I can because my body already doesn't do the best job. But I can't even do that because NateB would get insecure. What if other guys are looking at you literally after he cheated? After I found out he cheated, well, what if other guys are looking at you? But anyways, yes. So I'm there in my bed, just struggling, trying to get up. And I finally do. I'm tying my shoelaces, but I'm causing us to run late. He's supposed to get me there to that surprise birthday picnic. And when I'm tying my shoes, again, pretty much done. That's the last thing I do is put on my socks and my shoes. So I'm already tying my shoelaces. Pop, it goes to the back and karate chops me. And now we've roughhoused before, but no, there was no karate chopping, and especially not then. So I was just like, what the, like I was pissed. I storm off. He follows me then in his car, calling me, at least let me like hand the boys over to you. Now I was thankful that he brought my dogs with him because at least they were there for when the picnic happened. But then he's calling me and calling me and calling me. And then at the park, at the actual park where this was at, since I didn't know where it was at and I didn't really want to talk to him and I was blocking him out, I'm walking around throughout the entire park trying to find wherever they are and getting ready to act surprised. And yet he is right behind me. I'm sorry you took it the wrong way. That's why to me, I'm like, how do you have the audacity to then say that I'm harassing you? But anyways, now when he makes that police report, I am living close to this park, very close to this park. And now also, this is the part where it starts to get messy. And I say messy in the sense that if you like the chisme, this section is for you. Otherwise, we pretty much already wrapped up and this episode has come to an end. But this is like a little side scoop of chisme. As I mentioned, the Crown detention officer moved to Florida. So and I didn't want Nate B. So he gets back on the prowl, searching for the next brown guy, the next Latino. He scored the jackpot with the next one. Now look, he not only was he hot, but he was I believe Afro Latino. So in Nate's terms, uh, that was a jackpot. I don't understand why he was trying to recreate this Olivia Rodrigo deja vu kind of moment because tell me why where he takes his boo is to this same park. And to me, it's just crazy. And it's not like, oh, well, yeah, it's a popular park. I get that. But now Nate B lives pretty far away, 30 minutes away. But now I'm like, why are all your pictures suddenly at this park where you're having to do an hour drive because it's 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. And then you're doing the exact same route to the Swamp Rabbit Cafe and back. So the one club that we talked about going to is where your pictures are at. My friends who are also chismosas, now I didn't even ask them, but they're the ones that told me, oh yeah, no, he's definitely doing that because they also went to Day Drinkers, but Nate B didn't post any of that. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course not, because I don't even know what Day Drinkers is. I don't know where it's at. It's with this attempt to just try and get my attention. I would have been locked in, boy. What you think about me for? All I'm gotta say is that if he ever wanted to come and see Greenville again, I could give a very curated, specifically personalized, tailored day. Which also, by the way, that's the part that stood out to me a little bit is I told him in December that I'm leaving Greenville. Because again, the Georgia peach that I am, he probably knew I would have decided to move to Atlanta. So I said, you know what? I'm going to move to Charlotte instead. That way, if he tries to follow me, he's going to follow me to the wrong city. And then what a coincidence that the next guy he dates lives in Atlanta. But anyways, he's already on to the next Latino after that. So he's probably just trying to make the other one jealous too now. And I'm just like, okay. And the thing is, he's just so predictable to even where after their breakup, the same thing that he did to me where I ran across his profile on Tinder, even on Grindr when he was cheating, he would use pictures of us. He would just crop me out or use the pictures that I took of him. But the same thing to the next guy. The pictures that this guy took of him and in his shirt, he was wearing his new ex-boyfriend's shirt in the pictures on his new Tinder profile. So I'm like, dude, you do everything the exact same thing. Speaking of patterns, he follows the exact same patterns every single time. I started documenting the pattern, and this is one that I already started even noticing before we broke up. I have a short teaser video where I'm even telling him, what race was your first boyfriend? What about the second one? Because I'm like, no, something is off with this dude. So for the full scoop and the side chisme, like what we just talked about, make sure to check out Real Funny, Real Cute on Instagram and TikTok, where you will find those videos where I show these patterns. Because as we've seen in Atlanta, fetishization, especially with mentally unstable people who can't control their anger, who might just go off one day because they've had a bad day, it can be deadly. I don't want to see just another one of my ex partners' face on the news, knowing that, oh, somebody else got hurt and I didn't say anything. So, also, that's one of the other main reasons why we're here. But yeah, make sure to check out Real Funny, Real Cute on Instagram and TikTok, where you can find the full scoop. Because, like I said, to me, that was just crazy. The same thing with like the Uber spamming. The same thing with adding my friend on New Year's. The same thing of where he was logging into my Amazon Prime account. Once I logged him off is when he started sending me with the Uber notifications. And also, I guess he was signed into my main regular Amazon account, as I noted in the police report that I made in October, because on my Amazon account is where I order the Roman gladiator sandals. And what do y'all think he went dressed up as Halloween? And also, don't forget, y'all, he's already tried catfishing me before when we shortly after we first initially met. So yeah, like there's something is not right. And I'm just tired of feeling like, oh, coincidences, coincidences, coincidences. Ain't gonna be no coincidence if somebody get or when I don't I I'm just ready to move because I don't feel safe. That's why I moved to Greer. That's why I no longer live near downtown near this park. because Nate B was always around there, and I'm like just like a little bit too much to be a coincidence. But anyways, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining in as I told my story, as I told my side of the story uninterrupted. Thank you for supporting me and breaking the silence. I will see you in the next episode. Chismosos.